Ah, the good old days. A phrase that often finds its way into conversations among those of us who've seen the world evolve from rotary phones to smartphones. But let's take a nostalgic trip back to a time when the internet was the stuff of science fiction and everyday tasks required a bit more legwork, literally. Planning a trip was an adventure in itself. Forget GPS and online reviews. It was all about roadmaps that never folded back the right way and travel guides that you hoped were up to date. Booking a hotel meant calling ahead, often based on recommendations from friends or the limited information in your travel guide. There was a sense of mystery and excitement in not knowing exactly what to expect until you arrived. And getting lost? Well, that was just part of the journey, leading to unexpected discoveries and stories to tell for years to come. Somehow, it made travel feel like a grander adventure, didn't it? Remember when Google It wasn't a thing? If you needed information, whether for a school project, a bet you made with a friend, or just out of pure curiosity, you had to put on your detective hat. Libraries were our search engines, and librarians the original search algorithms. Navigating through card catalogues, deciphering the Dewey Decimal System, and flipping through countless pages of encyclopedias was the norm. There was something magical about the smell of old books and the silence that enveloped you, a stark contrast to the instant gratification of today's digital searches. In an era before emails, texts, and instant messaging, staying in touch required a more personal touch. Long-distance phone calls were a luxury, often reserved for holidays or emergencies, considering the hefty price tag attached. And then there were letters, the art of letter writing, pouring your heart out on paper, waiting with bated breath for the postman, and the joy of receiving a handwritten note in return. There was a certain romance to it, a patience and anticipation that's hard to find in today's instantaneous world. It made connections feel deeper, didn't it? Before streaming services, home entertainment options were limited to what was available at the local video rental store or scheduled on broadcast television. Families planned their evenings around TV show times or made special trips to rent movies for the weekend. The physical act of selecting a movie from a store shelf based on the cover art or the synopsis on the back added an element of surprise and commitment to the viewing experience. Limited by the choices available, viewers often discovered gems they might have otherwise overlooked. Gone are the days when recipes were passed down through generations, scribbled on well-worn index cards, or found in the stained pages of a family cookbook. The ritual of cooking was more than just preparing a meal. It was an act of preserving tradition and sharing love. Families and friends exchanged recipes as tokens of affection, and cookbooks were treasured resources, full of annotations and dog-eared pages. The lack of online ratings meant taking a leap of faith with each new dish, leading to both magnificent feasts and memorable flops. But wasn't there a sense of achievement in finally nailing Grandma's secret recipe? Building a music collection was a labor of love. Visiting record stores, browsing through endless racks of vinyl, tapes, and CDs, and the thrill of finding a rare album or an anticipated release, it was an experience in itself. Music aficionados prided themselves on their eclectic collections, often displayed as badges of honor in living rooms. The tactile feeling of flipping through albums, the artwork, and the liner notes added layers to the music that digital files can't replicate. And the ritual of listening, setting the needle on a record, pressing play on a tape deck, or loading a CD, made each album feel like a journey. Photography was an art and a gamble before the digital era. Each click of the shutter was deliberate, knowing you had a finite number of shots on a roll of film. The anticipation of developing film, waiting to see if your memories were captured just as you remembered, added a layer of excitement and sometimes disappointment. Polaroids offered instant gratification, but with a sense of permanence. Each photo was a unique snapshot in time, with no do-overs. This made photographs more precious, didn't it? Albums filled with these tangible memories became priceless family heirlooms. Staying informed meant waiting for the evening news, reading the morning paper, or catching up with weekly magazines. News cycles were slower, allowing time for reflection and anticipation. There was a rhythm to staying informed, a routine that structured our days. Discussions around the dinner table were fueled by the day's headlines, and journalists were trusted figures who brought the world into our living rooms. The absence of real-time updates meant that news had time to develop, stories had room to unfold, and we had space to process. Gone are the days when the hunt for a new job meant flipping through the dense, ink-smelling pages of newspaper classifieds. The ritual of circling potential opportunities with a pen, drafting resumes on a typewriter, and mailing out applications was a slow, deliberate process. Job seekers relied on daily or weekly newspapers to find openings, and networking meant attending social events or making phone calls. This method demanded patience and perseverance, making the thrill of a callback or an interview invitation all the more exhilarating. Before gaming consoles became a household staple, the arcade was the epicenter of video gaming culture. The clink of quarters, the glow of neon screens, and the sound of digital battles filled these spaces, creating a communal gaming experience. Each game was a test of skill, with high scores earning you a place in the arcade's Hall of Fame, at least until someone better came along. This shared space fostered friendships and rivalries, with players gathering to watch and learn from the best. Learning to drive pre-internet involved studying a physical driver's manual and relying heavily on advice from family and friends. Driver's education classes were a rite of passage, where first-hand experiences were shared and fears were quelled through communal learning. The lack of online tutorials or simulators meant that every lesson learned behind the wheel was a critical step toward gaining confidence on the road. This hands-on, community-based approach to learning created bonds and shared memories that many cherish to this day. Wasn't there a deeper sense of achievement in mastering driving under these conditions? Remember when retail therapy meant a day at the mall or flipping through the pages of a Sears catalogue? Shopping was an event, often a social one. Decisions took time, from trying on clothes in a fitting room to comparing prices across stores. Catalogues brought the promise of the world to your doorstep, with pages and pages of products to dream about. The joy of receiving a package was akin to a holiday, anticipated for weeks. This hands-on approach to shopping made purchases feel more intentional and perhaps more satisfying. The art of planning and organization was once a wholly tangible affair. Paper planners, wall calendars, and desk pads were the tools of the trade, meticulously filled with appointments, birthdays, and reminders. The physical act of writing down tasks and events helped cement them in our memories and gave a satisfying sense of order to our lives. This manual method of keeping track of commitments required regular review and offered a visual representation of our time, a practice that many find more fulfilling than digital scheduling. Wasn't there a unique satisfaction in crossing out completed tasks or flipping the page to a new month? Reflecting on these aspects of life before the internet era reveals a common thread: the value of direct, hands-on experiences. Do you remember any of these experiences? Let me know in the comments and make sure to subscribe to help support the channel. Thanks for watching.